on the CPU themselves. So that is what appears to be emerging as the leading candidate, because look at this photo. We have an AMD Ryzen 9 9700X. And at first you might just skim past that and be like, what's the issue? The issue is that the 9700X is not a Ryzen 9, it's a Ryzen 7. There's also reports that the Ryzen 5 9600X CPUs could also be labeled as Ryzen 9. So it's possible that this is the issue that triggered this whole, delaying of the launch and pulling product out of the, out of production and not production, but out of channels, retail channels. Anyway, we'll have to see if that ever gets confirmed as the real reason why this all happened, or perhaps it is one issue and maybe there were other issues as well. Maybe only one of the things that wasn't caught by quality assurance and testing, but that would certainly be interesting. Now, we've got a whole bunch of other stories to talk about, but since we're on the AMD side of things, how about we just continue with that? So, we're also seeing, again, that since the CPUs were already out there are definitely results being published for performance numbers, including Cinebench numbers, where we are seeing 10 or 11% performance bumps compared to the previous generation. Now, that's not massive, but it's also unclear exactly what, performance numbers we're using. PDO enabled, so with PDO enabled, AMD was claiming that we should see some pretty big jumps, at least on certain CPUs, if you use PDO. So, again, we really kind of need those full reviews, and it's not going to be too much longer now before we get them. So let's go ahead and move on to this AMD news, switching over more to the GPU side of things, although also NPU side of things. Depending on which product you're looking at, AMD is introducing a Muse 2.0 beta with AMD XVMA Super Resolution fully low experience. Now, when I first saw the headline AMD XDNA Super Resolution, I was like, oh, is FSR finally getting an AI accelerated version? Please tell me yes. The answer is no, at least that's not what this is. Could there eventually be some version of that? I think sure. But what this is actually talking about, so the Muse 2.0 beta here actually looks similar to what I reported on my last news video regarding Intel releasing some software for architecture to make it simple and easy to for users with maybe not a lot of technical AI stuff to just get some AI stuff up and running on their hardware in a format and set up for it. That seems to be what we're seeing here. So AMD is introducing a Muse 2.0 beta, and the goal here, if you take a look at it, is to make it easy to install programs with no dependencies, simplifying user interface, all easy, and quickly take care of all the configuration required to jumpstart your AI image generation journey. Now that's the key here, is this appears to me to be just AI image generation, whereas Intel's version seem to also support like large language models. I can't speak. Anyway, but again, this does also feature the super resolution to speed up and increase output size by the generation stage. So, for example, you could image at 512 by 512, and then it could upscale using XDNA super resolution to 1024 by 1024 image. That's kind of what they're talking about here. The highlights are no command line needed, filters, multi-stage ONNX based pipeline, stable diffusion, control nets, feature extractor. So if you're interested in AI image generation on AMD hardware, but you didn't know really where to get started with all of that, perhaps this would give you a simple way to get into it. But as far as support goes, right now it looks like this is supporting, well, at least official recommended system specs. So I haven't tried running it on things outside of that. But they're saying recommended system specs are AMD processors, which we're doing reviews of today, more on that later in the video, with 24 gigabytes of RAM or higher. AMD Ryzen 40 series processors, which have AMD XD Super Resolution support because they have you would need the latest OEM MCDM and NPU driver update. These would suggest 32 gigabytes of RAM, and Radeon RX 7000 series graphics cards. Notice that the 6000 series is not currently listed here. It's why exactly, or when or if not really expanded. I want some shots of what this tool actually looks like. There you go. So then you could, write something here and then get it generated like this if you do it as cinematic breath. So, giving some idea of what this tool is capable of, artistic blend. Cool, there you have it. Again, to support the XDNA Super Resolution feature, though, I think you do need the XDNA NPU feature, so your hardware does need it. Correct hardware for that. Now, easy to use and understand, but I think extremely interesting side of things. I've been reading through some AMD published papers about their research into some graphics technologies that I think could be used to greatly improve performance in general, but also in really specific situations. Also take advantage of AMD-specific hardware on upcoming graphics card launches. So one thing that they're talking about here, now all of my sources will be linked in the video description. So honestly, this is a bit technical, and parts of it I can understand, parts of it go a bit over my head. So anyway, just warning you will, if you read into this, see things like this. But if you want to play around with this, or at least read the more easy to understand, introduction paragraphs and whatnot, this seems pretty interesting. So with the introduction of Unreal Engine 5 and one of its absolute key features being Nanite, it poses a ray tracing. Because, again, if we kind of quote this here a bit, the major graphics engines now offer standardized support for accelerated ray tracing, but in the same time frame, rasterization-based systems such as Nanite, and one of the key Unreal Engine 5 features, have significantly raised geometric complexity in games. So the idea is that Nanite allows extremely high geometric detail, but then it's constantly changing on the fly from frame to frame to only show you the parts that are actually needed.
Taking effective fire.
The problem is that this trend conflicts with current ray tracing interfaces, which require opaque acceleration structures to be built. So the idea is that the way you would currently be tracing against things conflicts with the constantly changing geometry that's being used in Nanite. And so the idea here with DGF, a dense hardware-friendly geometry format for lossily compressing meshes with arbitrary topologies, is that it was more compatible systems like Nanite, which is extremely interesting. One of the problems suggested in the paper, though, is that the decompression part of this would currently be too expensive. But what if you had a future fixed function hardware for that decompression? In other words, if in a future AMD graphics processor had a fixed function hardware piece designed to do that decompression, it could actually vastly accelerate or become more at least compatible with systems like Nanite ray tracing, which is really interesting. And for them to be publishing this, it tells me that perhaps they've already designed that fixed function hardware and have it coming up. Are we going to see this in the PS5 Pro? Are we going to see this in, the RDNA 4 architecture, something like that? But anyway, no guarantees on what's coming, but that is very interesting. This paper at the video description if you're so inclined. Another paper that looked really interesting to me was, would you pronounce this so what is that? Hierarchical parallel locally ordered clustering for bounding volume hierarchy construction. So, let's read the introduction here a little bit. This was a bit harder for me to summarize exactly why it's cool.
Switching mags!
For constructing binary bounding volume hierarchies. You may have heard of BBHs. Part of ray tracing.
Blood for blood!
Based on the parallel locally ordered clusters.
10 seconds remaining.
Compared to
Notch one.
BBH build algorithms, our method provides
Reloading!
quality
Throwing a stun out!
while X times 3.6 times lower construction times, 13 times lower for just the binary BBH construction phase. Additionally, we propose an efficient algorithm to convert a binary BBH to an n-wide BBH with just a single kernel launch. Besides being extremely efficient, our proposed algorithms are simple to implement, allowing easy to integrate into existing frameworks. And it gets more complicated from there. However, if all of that went over your head, and some of it goes over my head, my general idea of what they're saying here, as I read through this, is this could propose a good balance, I think, between... So you can... I think there's time spent constructing the BVH, and then time spent ray tracing against the BVH, and there can be a balance there between if you spend longer constructing the BVH, it might be harder to, easier to ray trace against. If you don't spend as much time on the construction of the BVH, it might here seems to be finding a good balance with that. So if anyway, that's my interpretation of it. Again, best as I can do it. A lot of this is a bit